Hey, hi guys. So in this video, we are going to discuss the LLD for the Google. First, go through the design requirement which we have. So we need to design the user authentication authorization for the Google Drive and the file and the folder management also. So the user should be able to create, download or upload the files, and can they should be also able to organize them hierarchically, basically in kind of a tree structure. They should be able to share the folders or the file with another other users. Version control, they should be able to track down the changes. For example, let's say if we have made any changes to a particular file, they should be able to track down the versioning, that hey, these changes were made for those particular files. Such functionality, they should be able to search the file by their, and we have a restriction that they cannot store more than, let's say, x amount or 10 GB, whatever, more than that storage. So these are the feature requirements which we have. Let's move to the design pattern which we are going to use. Okay, let's first discuss about the entities we have here. So entity could be, let's say, user is one of the entity, file and folder can be one of the entity. Maybe here we can even use the composite pattern to denote the file and folder thing, or maybe some other stuff. File sharing, version control can be another entity. Searching strategy, storage. Let's see what are the design pattern which are going to singleton pattern. We are going to have a one file system manager, making sure that the work of that would be to manage the entire system, making sure the files and all those things are in the, basically we are centralizing the system to prevent the inconsistencies and other synchronization issues in terms of the concurrent operations or some parallel operations. Now factory pattern we are using for creating the file and folder. Just for the encapsulation, composite pattern, as we have discussed how we will be using file and folder, sorry, we will be using the composite pattern to structurize the file and folder. As we know, folder can contain many folder, and then those folders can contain many more folders and subsequently files. So to showcase that pattern, to create that structure or hierarchy, we will be using the composite pattern. The next thing is the decorator pattern we are using to add the permission dynamically on top of file, like who can view it, who cannot view it, and all that thing. Observer is just about notifying the user about any change, let's say if the permission was shared and all those things. Strategy pattern, as I was mentioning, can be used for the local storage. Like we can have multiple kind of storages. It maybe we can use S3, or maybe we can use, for example, so if in future we want to change the backend service to store, for example, let's say we were current initially storing it into the AWS S3, maybe tomorrow we want to move to another kind of the service, let's say Google blob storage, something like that. It should be very easy. We can just add another class and that should work out. Proxy pattern is to make sure that we are controlling the access. So we are going to have the logic in this class to see who to allow to access that file or the file system and who to not. It's just another security layer which we, command pattern is more about the, there would be multiple operations done by the user which may require multiple set of commands. For example, it can be like, hey, you are adding a new file. If that new file is already a part of the folder which is shared with others, then the operation is more like, hey, that file should needs to be accessible by others also. So whatever operation is required for that week needs to be done as a part of that only. Or it could be more other sequences and operations which needs to be done in the backend. So that's why we are using the command pattern here. Now the template method pattern we are just planning to, like, trying to have, so we can have multiple subclass. Basically we want to have more flexibility on the file operation. That's why we are defining abstract class which later can be implemented, so that we can have different kind of algorithm or the structures in the file operation if we want to have it tomorrow. The algorithms which are involved, which can be involved here, is the tree traversal, like traversing in the file system for DFS for searching the files and all that thing. Hashing just to for a quick lookup whether that file maybe exist or not. Access control algorithm, versioning algorithm. This is the structure how the code which we are going to discuss looks like. So we have a user class here, we have a file system manager. File system manager is the main singleton pattern where we are using the singleton pattern. File and folder is another class which we are having. File system proxy and root. You can go through this flow diagram, or sorry, the UML diagram. Now let's talk about the code. So this is the component which we have. This is the interface which we have defined actually. So this is just having this kind of a most basic fields which is required for folders and or maybe the file. So this is now implemented by this file which is our main class which we are going to use. This represents the file like having the name, content, version, permissions. The next one we have is the folder, as I was saying that this is also implementing the folder. The folder is also kind of file system component, we are implementing it. And here you will see one more thing, which is this one. So this is how we are using the composite pattern here. So the children here are going to be either the folder or are going to be either the file. So you can even have the both. So that's how we are supporting the hierarchy structure. The reason why we are able to do it because the file and folder both are implementing the same interface. The next one we have is the permission decorator, which we are going to add on top of the file basic user class like admin user. The next one we have is the file system manager. This is the main manager which is centralized system which is holding the entire information about the file system. So here we are using the singleton pattern. If you see here, this is the root folder, the root directory, or the entering space. This is the strategy like to figure out whether we have the storage or not. The next thing is the file version. What is the file version now? Here we are storing the content and the timestamp. It is telling you, it is giving you the file version at the given component level. For example, last update was made at let's say 0048. So this would store the information that hey, the file version, hey, this file had a particular at this particular timestamp had this particular content. Observer is just for notifying the users. The next one we have is the storage strategy. We are using the strategy pattern here. This is implemented by the local and you can have more S3 and more stuffs here. File system proxy is actually, if you see, is loading, is implementing this thing only. This is just adding another layer to for the security. So here you can just, you have all the permissions. Sorry, you have here we have written all the things related to the permissions, whether the file have a read permission or not, whether the file have a write permission or not. So what will happen is whenever you are initializing, you will be passing the current user context. So it will tell you whether the current user have the access to the given file or not. So you will be also initializing the component here, which could be either the folder or which could be either the file also. Now the file operation. So these are the, as we have discussed, we are using a template method pattern here. So if you see, we have left these two implementations. Whenever a file operation will happen, first thing we will do is the validate whether that file operation is allowed or not. That means even checking about the permissions and all those things. Once that is done, we will do the perform operation, we'll do the logic log operation. Now we are leaving this blank because we ourselves are going to write the code to validate, to see how we are going to validate whether the operation is allowed or not, and what action or the operation we need to perform later to also implement it. So if you see here, we have implemented this operation. So what are the things which you need to validate while you are creating a file? So that will be done here. And what is the actual action we need to take if everything is fine? It's this one. Just for the this is just for the search. You can even use the strategy pattern even for the search if you have multiple search strategy. And this one is the demo class which we have. So here we are integrating all the class which we have created. So first what we have done is we have created an admin. Then we have created two users. Now we have initialized our singleton pattern of the file system manager to get the value, to get the access to the system. Now this is just getting the root, like where do we want, from where do we start. We are trying to check root dot get permission dot set permission. Here we are just setting the permissions for the root. Actually, the all these things are just the setup. We have not done anything yet. Basically, all these things are just the setup. Consider like this is already done when you open the Google Drive, something like that. Now create files and folder using the template access pattern. So let's say if anyone want to create any file at any place, let's say they click on the upload, they click on the update file, then this operation is going to be get checked here. Hey, is it even possible or not? This operation is possible or not? So that thing particularly checked here. After that, here if you see, we execute that command if everything goes well. Similarly, now it goes for the folder also. So here we are just showing how to use all these classes together when whatever we have created. Now there are many missing features into the code, like permission is based on user only. But what if we want more granular level of permission, like having the access at the file level, or maybe you can say group level. What if you are added to a particular group and now you need to be, since you are a part of the group, you should be automatically allowed to be the to access that file or the folder. That is not implemented. What about having different kind of access types? Like currently we were have not discussed the separate thing, although we have designed it, but it's not that granular, like that he currently we cannot say, hey, I want to only give a write permission to particular, or read permission, or manage permission. Now what are the other things? Other things are, let's say, concurrent design. Currently our system does not support the multi-threading. What it would mean is that, let's say, if you there are two threads who are trying to, let's say there are two operations, you just click double sometimes, something like that, or maybe from different system you try to upload the file, the storage is close to, let's say, 14.5 something, and only 10 MB is left. Both the files are of 99 MB. Most in most cases, the existing code will allow both the operations to go ahead, because there's no concurrency we are using. Currently the entire system is considering it's a single threaded system, but what if it's kind of executed in a multi-threading? It will definitely mostly fail. So we need to update the code to according to that. So making sure that it supports the multi-threading, our systems works way faster and does not allow the double booking, or what do you say, allowing the users to store more than what they can store, basically. So all those things we are already covering in our course, basically.